started. At this time, we'll start the meeting for the Board of Finance, which is open to the public. Called a request to approve January 25 minutes.
I'll make that motion, Bill.
I'll second.
We have motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Election of officers. Floor is now open.
I'll make the motion to reappoint you as president.
I'll second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second to approve Mr. Basham as president of the Finance Board again. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Now on the floor for secretary.
I'll make the motion for Chrissy Franklin.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Reports. Mr. Barr.
All right, good evening. Welcome to our Board of Finance meeting. This is done annually. It is a separate meeting outside of the regular board meeting. Part of this meeting, we'll cover two things. One is to go over our investment policy, some investment information that we run through the district, and also to cover some fiscal indicators. So part of it is reviewing our investment policy, which is 6144. We review that every year. At this time, we do not recommend any changes, but it has been shared with the Board of Finance for the review, and it's also available on our website to the public. So looking at our investment report, Silver Creek School Corporation funds are deposited in interest-bearing accounts and investments in alignment with policy 6144, so we're going to review those. We do utilize German American Bank for our main checking account needs, so we have 3 different checking accounts with them. One being our main checking account, and in 2022, we earned $38,021.05 in interest, which was deposited into our Operation Fund 0300. We also have a textbook rental checking account. $3,355.09 was deposited into our 0900 fund. And then we also have a self-insurance fund checking account, which we earned $7,742.44. And that was deposited into our 1100 fund, which is our self-insurance fund. We also do some asset liability matching investments through a CD, essentially time these with our bond payments. So right after we make our bond payments, which we make those twice a year, we will invest in a CD, but we pull those out right before our bond payments to make sure we have enough cash on hand to make those. So we do shop these. We wanted to get the most competitive rate we can, so we shop with banks within our district. The first time in January when we shopped these, we went with German American. We earned $3,679.11, and it was roughly a little over about 5 months of an investment there. When we took these, made our bond payments, and then put our shopped again, First Savings Bank gave us the best rate. So we went with them from July to December. We earned $30,550.87. Both of those were deposited in our Operation Fund 0300. Our 2021 bond money, which is with our holding corp, BNY Mellon. In 2022, we got that invested in a laddered portfolio based on a cash flow analysis. So what that does is ensures the investments come out over time, just like you're going up a ladder. They come out to make sure you have enough cash on hand to make your payments as construction bills come. And in that account, in our interest construction account, we earn $676,398.56. So total interest for local accounts and our construction accounts in 2022, $759,747.12. That's the investment report. Any questions? Okay, going over our fiscal indicators. We are a governmental entity. That means we rely on state funding. We rely on property taxes and those things, which is money that we receive, and it's important that we're good stewards. It is a part of Indiana Code that the superintendent of a school corporation annually submits a written report to the Board of Finance to allow the Board of Finance to assess the financial condition of the school corporation. Essentially, this came into existence because they want to make sure that before things get very bad for a corporation financially, that very important indicators are looked at, that if a corporation is in distress, action can be taken before it's too late. So some key indicators are the ADM, fund balances, annual deficit or surplus, fund balances as percent of expenditures, revenue by type, and operating referendum, which we do not have one, and this can all be found on the DUAB website. Taking a look at demographics. For 21, our free and reduced rate, 26.15, and 22, we saw an increase to 27.33%. Our special education population was at 14.65% in 21 and 22, 16.64%. It's about a 2% jump there. In English language learners, 5.36 in 21 and 5.71% in 2022. Again, slight increase there on that one. ADM in 2020, when Silver Creek came into existence, fall count was 2,790 students. In 2021, our fall count was 2,934, which is a 144 student increase at 5.2%. And in 2022, this fall, 3,067 students. That's 133 additional students at a 4.5% increase. Again, this is based on fall counts only. So ADM changed since 2020, 277 students, a positive 277 students at a 9.7% increase. Looking at our year-end fund balances in education, operation, rainy day, and debt service funds. In 2020, right at $4.6 million. In 21, $6.4 million. And in 2022, right at $4.9 million. I will note that 2021 was very inflated due to, in 2022, we were still working through settling with West Clark. So we had some major one-time expenditures in 2022, one being that $1.4 million payment to reconcile the 1300 fund, and also some one-time payments we had to deal with VEBA and also our 401As that we had to make an extra payment there to cover that because it did not get settled in 21, just took a little extra time. So again, cleaning things up in 2022 to finally close the door in the books that everything has settled with West Clark. So moving forward in 2023, you don't have to hear me say that anymore. In operation fund, 2020, 1.3, in 21, 4.5 million, and in 2022, right at 3.5 million. Do note, again, in 2022, we made a rainy day transfer fund into our rainy day fund, which we're about to cover, which is very important that you do have a rainy day. So moving on to the rainy day, in 2020, we didn't exist. In 2021, we began saving for our rainy day, $625,908.89. And in 2022, right at 2.8 million. And again, it's very important, especially just think of the cost of just a roof or those emergency expenditures or things that you'll need on hand. So it's very important to continue to save for a rainy day. Debt service funds, that's essentially just based strictly on property taxes, and that as we issue bonds, we ensure that we collect enough property taxes to cover those bond payments. So 2020, 3.6, 21, 2.6, and 2020, right at 2 million. Going to annual deficit and surplus, again, DUAB, I'm not sure how exactly they calculated in 2020 since it was a split year. But I can speak to 21 in that we saw a surplus right at 3.3 million. Again, 21, I want to reference, it was a bit inflated due to settling some one-time expenses in 2022. So as we move on and we're going to get more accurate data for Silver Creek, but it is good to see that we did have a surplus. Fund balances as percent of expenditures. Basically, what this is looking at is how much do you have, how much money do you have in your funds, and what percent of your expenditures can you cover with that balance? In 2020, based on their calculations, right at 42%. And in 2021, essentially our fund balances would cover right at 53% of our expenditures, which would be roughly 6 months. So if all revenue stopped, we could continue to support ourselves for a few months. Revenue by type. I've got total revenue for the major funds, and I'll kind of talk about how those are funded or what the type of funding. So looking at education in 2020, right at 10.3 million, 21, 20.7 million, and in 22, 21.9 million. The majority, almost all of your revenue in your education fund comes from your basic state tuition support, which is ADM driven. That means how many students you have. There's a per pupil amount for each student. So that's where the majority of your funding, and that's why there's so much emphasis put on your ADM counts. Operation fund in 2020, $4.1 million in revenue. 2021, $7.1 million. 2022, $7.6 million. We levy taxes on this, and that goes up. It depends. Last year, they allowed us to increase that 5%. So each year, they set a maximum that you can increase your levy for your operation fund, and we seek to get that to ensure we can cover operational expenditures. Debt funds, again, this is totally based on our bond payments and our property taxes to pay for those bond payments. So, but in 2020, $4.1 million, 2021, $6.2 million, and in 2022, $7.5 million. 1782 reports, some comparisons. What that is this is what the DLGF provides once your budget is set as kind of your overview and summary and your budget for the calendar year. So we'll look at assessed value first, which is very important. That comes into levying for your property taxes. So in 21, we were 850, and this is Silver Creek only, because keep in mind we have two debt funds, one for Silver Creek and one for Old West Clark debt. So this is just for Silver Creek debt. Our assessed value for Silver Creek debt in 2021, $854 million. In 2022, it went to $925 million. And in 2023, we exceeded the $1 billion mark for assessed value for Silver Creek, a total of about a 26% change from 21 to 23. Going to tax rate, 79 cents, total tax rate, 79 cents in 21, total tax rate in 22, 84 cents. In 23, it is showing 74 cents. Keep in mind, we've been approved to issue our 2023 bonds, which we anticipate that going out, which will increase that rate. Education fund appropriation in 21, $15.5 million. Our appropriation in 22 was $17 million, and our appropriation in 23 is $19.5 million. And again, that is not revenue. That is what the DLGF has given you the authority to spend, unless you go after an additional appropriation, which since we're a growing district, we've had to do that a couple of times. Our operation fund appropriation, $7.2 million. 2022, $7.6 million, and in 2023, $8.2 million. So again, we've seen we're increasing that as much as they allow us to each year. Debt service fund appropriation, $380,000 in 2021, $934,000 in 2022, and $2.6 million in 2023. And then in your debt payment below, $6.6 million in 21, $7.1 million in 22, and $4.9 million in 23. And what you're going to start seeing is, as West Clark no longer exists, but there is debt that through our interlocal agreement that Silver Creek does levy for and does pay the bond payments on that. And as West Clark debt falls off, what you're going to see is you're going to see the Silver Creek go up, because we got to get just Silver Creek debt will continue to be issued, or we got to continue paying that off. And then the West Clark debt will continue to decrease since that is falling off. And the school pension debt is not applicable, but since in 2021 it was, I just put that up there to reference, but we no longer have a school pension debt appropriation. A couple of things to keep in mind on additional appropriations. In education fund, we'll monitor our appropriations monthly, and if needed, we'll request an additional appropriation towards the end of 2023 to ensure accuracy. Growing districts often need to go through this process to meet the student needs through staffing and resources. And the rainy day fund, when the DLGF opens the window for additional appropriations, we will go through the process of getting the authority to spend rainy day funds in 2023. I anticipate that being early February. So a few things to keep in mind. While you can feel like you're smooth sailing with finances, sometimes you always want to be prepared for the storm or the rainy day that's coming. And again, some things with Silver Creek being so early in its tenure, we're a very new district in terms of establishing financial trends. I mentioned even in 2022, we're seeing these one-time expenditures as things to close the door on West Clark. That as we move forward, we'll actually see true trend history that helps really dictate how we're appropriating your finances correctly. Unknown funding changes. Again, ADM, we talked about education. The education fund is dependent on that ADM. And again, why all indications are we'll continue to be growing as a district based on what we can look around and see a lot of growth. You always do run the risk, or could happen, that we could lose students, which again could negatively impact funding. State funding level, we don't know exactly what the legislators are going to vote on, if they're going to continue to increase our per pupil amount or not. So again, that could go up, that can go down, and again, that impacts your budget. And assessed value, while we've seen some great growth in assessed value, will we continue to see that as the market cools down and things like that? That's to be determined, but again, you can't hedge your bet that we're going to continue to see great assessed value growth. We hope to, but again, we got to budget and appropriate according to be ready for those things. Fiscal responsibility is key. We'll continue to scrutinize expenditures, prioritize spending where it counts, continue to equip and value our staff, give them the resources they need to be successful, but continue to value them within budgetary limits. And that is all for our investment and fiscal indicator report. Everybody's still awake? Okay. All right. Questions?
Any questions? Joe. I hear none. Do we have a motion to adjourn the finance?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, Dr. Baldwin.
All right, this time we will go right into the Silver Creek regular scheduled board meeting. Let the record reflect, we'll call this meeting to order at 6:47. At this time, if we could please rise. Mr. Gronin will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by Dr. Ballmer with the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you that we can gather here tonight as a community, as a board, as a staff. We first and foremost just give thank you. I want to say thank you for all the blessings you've given our district, for our students who show up, do a great job each day, for our staff who's always willing to go above and beyond, and a community that supports us. Help guide us all as we make decisions that are very important for our district each and every day. Help us as we move through big construction projects and how to best serve our students each and every day. We ask that you'll continue to pour your blessings out on our district. In Jesus' name, amen.
Roll call, Mr. Basham.
Here.
Ms. Bright is absent. Ms. Franklin? Mr. Groen?
Present.
And I am also present. We have quorum. Dr. Briggs, any emergency additions or revisions to the agenda?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I do have a handful of revisions. First of all, under number 3, approval of minutes, I recommend to the board to remove letter 3B, the January 10, 2023 work session. I would like to move those to our next meeting for approval. Also, under number 9, consent agenda. On the original agenda, finances and donations had letters C and D. Those should actually be A and B. Those have been corrected on your amended agenda. Under consent agenda number 9, letter A, finances, I'd like to add letter B, purchase of Chromebooks from Common School Loan from RTI for $306,000. And under number 10, discussion action items, under letter B, action item, I would request to add Roman numeral 4, consider approval of addendum number 1 for GMP number 1 and change order. I'd also recommend a request to add Roman numeral 5, consider approval of structural steel assignment agreement, and request to add Roman numeral 6, consider approval of roofing assignment agreement. And that is it for revisions to the agenda.
You've heard the emergency additions and revisions to the agenda. Do we have a motion to bring that to the floor? Mr. Groen makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Basham seconds. Any discussion needed? Hearing none, all of those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Number 3, approval of board minutes. The approval of the regular board meeting on January 10th of 2023. Do we have a motion to bring that to the floor? Mr. Groen makes a motion. Do we have a second? Ms. Franklin seconds. Any discussions or questions? Hearing none, all of those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 4-0. Dr. Briggs, any recognitions?
I do not believe we have any recognition this evening.
All right. Condolences?
Yes, condolences to Gina Scott on the loss of her mother, condolences to Paige Kleehammer on the loss of her sister-in-law and nephew, and condolences to Jennifer Ants on the loss of her father.
Dr. Ballmer, Finance and Operations?
Yes, great news. More numbers coming your way. So we'll start with our monthly financial report, which is basically we're going to be all the way through 2022 because this is the December, so we wrapped up 2022. So let's take a look at our two major funds, education and operations. The beginning balance in 2022 for education was $6,466,939.02. Year-to-date revenue, $21,961,524.94. Year-to-date expenditures, $23,289,747.66 with an ending balance of $4,970,832.27. Again, as I explained, the Board of Finance in 2022, we saw some very large one-time expenditures that affected the revenue versus expenditures. But when you factor those out, you will see that revenue did exceed expenditures minus those West Clark settling payments. Percent spent, 107.2%. Expected spent, 100%. Again, we are a growing district, and that's why we did file for the additional appropriation. So when you factor in the additional appropriation that was approved, we actually did not overspend, but just for accuracy and consistency, I kept it the way it was showing. And again, that just all has to do with settling West Clark and us being a very growing district. When you build the budget, you don't know how many students you're going to grow with, so you have to continue to hire resources or hire people and resources for those additional students. Operation fund beginning balance 2022 more $4,530,176.97. Year-to-date revenue $7,630,275.48. Year-to-date expenditures through 22 $8,630,324.79. The transfer to rainy day is included in that, so that's why you see the balance there. Ending balance for operation $3,530,127.66. Percent spent through all of 2022, 81.5%. Of course, expected percent right at 100%. Moving on, some additional things going on with finance. Since the budget has been approved, we have our Form 1 lines and appropriations. We are going through our financial management system line by line, about 6,000 different lines, and ensuring we really finally map out accurate appropriation lines for SCSC. So it's a lot of work, but it's going to pay off in the long run. It's a perfect time to do it since the IDOE just changed all their expenditure codes, and let's just cross our fingers they do not do that again next year. As we've centralized TBR, we continue to clean up things as we look at all buildings to gain consistency on our workbooks and things, and the scrutinizing those fees. We'll continue to do that. Our treasurers have done a great job reaching out to people to work on getting our fee money collected, so I appreciate all their hard work. We have wrapped up December, which means we've got the Form 9 reporting and other reporting that comes with wrapping up a calendar year. So a lot of that's going on in our office right now. I'm appreciative of Becky and Alice and all of them who are working very diligently. Then on the HR side, we are working on getting our W-2s and 1099s issued, and we'll meet our deadline by the end of January for those things. On operations, moving on to technology, we just switched from IP Configure to a Wave 5 for our surveillance software. This software improves surveillance ability and comes with features that were previously not available. It also comes with annual cost savings. And again, just kudos to Mr. Smith and his team. It was always great to get those, but actually implementing, getting everything set up with programming, it takes time and a lot of hard work, so I appreciate that. Also, the board has approved a common school loan to purchase the next rounds of devices for our students, and we'll be doing that in grades 1, 5, 9, and 12 with the board's approval. The devices will be placed into the hands in classrooms prior to the end of the school year where that is applicable. Transportation, as if you part of transportation, you know it's very difficult to find bus drivers right now, but we're glad to announce that Samantha Stewart is currently training, and we just want to welcome her to the transportation team. Ms. Cahafer and Ms. Miller do a great job at working hard to continue to attract bus drivers. We also want to give a shout out to the special education transportation team, as we have had an uptick of students on the sped buses. It brings new challenges, but they do their best to bring students to school safely, home and back, and smiling and happy. So they're doing a great job. So way to go, team. On the facilities side, they have begun the pre-qualification process for industrial lighting rebates with Duke Energy, which will allow us to purchase LED bulbs for our schools at a discounted rate. This will only further help with our school's Energy Star ratings and developing a more cost-effective means to illuminate our buildings in long term. And with the onboarding of the new Incident IQ ticketing system, they've begun developing routines in the app to track repairs that have been completed and the frequency in which we are replacing components. And the key to this, the process is helping the facilities team to better prepare inventory lists for parts necessary to have on the shelves in case of an emergency, and also eliminate buying excess parts otherwise that would sit for an extended period of time. Also want to give a shout out. I've called each one of them, and I know Mr. Poole's, but Mr. Poole and his team deserving a little extra recognition for their hard work with the pipes busting in the high school when it got extremely cold. They were on that very quick, and the whole team chipped in to really make a difference. So let's minimize the amount of damage, but they did a great job mitigating that and have our classrooms ready to go that were impacted. So we appreciate that. I also want to thank Mr. Poole for all his hard work for the facility model changes and the things that are being implemented. Him and his team are doing a great job, and he told me today they're ready for some inclement weather if it does actually snow tonight. So again, the Chromebooks have went home with our students, but our transportation and our facilities department does a great job at coordinating to ensure that we do factor in safety. We want to make the right call, what's best for students. We want them in our buildings with safety first. But again, thanks for all your hard work and preparation to make sure with everything needs to be cleared, you're ready to go. On construction, athletics still on track with football and track being ready this fall, and baseball and softball in the spring of '24. We did have some drainage concerns we addressed over here with our SCS staging line, but it seems to be working much better. And again, if you get 20 inches of rain in like 5 minutes, there's not much you can do. But again, it is draining much better than it was. So we appreciate everybody's team effort on that. And again, Mr. Poole was involved with that. And we're also continuing to work on our athletic field. We continue to work very hard. We actually got a work session again tonight. We're working with our architects and our construction personnel to review high school plans, looking at some value engineering ideas to craft a very successful bid package when this does go back out in the bid in the spring. And we just want to continue to be good stewards of our public dollars and maximize every cent we can for our construction efforts for our district. And that is it for me on finance and operations. Any questions?
Any questions for Dr. Balmer? Thanks, Todd. Dr. Briggs, Curriculum and Student Services?
Yes. So January 4th had great professional development activities for our certified staff. We had a variety of options for staff to participate in. Thanks to everyone who were involved with the planning and the carrying out of those activities. Our committee work is continuing to take place. Broad-based planning committee has met. Textbook adoption for math has met, had their first meeting. Staff evaluation handbook committee met today for the first time this school year. And then we have the mental health committee coming up next week. Just a note to everyone, high ability testing in grades kindergarten, 2nd and 5th begins in February. And we are in the middle of some transition with our staff. So thanks to everyone involved with that. Who's been reaching out to me and helping me stay organized and get through all of the things that we still have our business to do. So the names are too many to mention, but all of you know who you are. So thank you for your assistance, and look forward to getting our staffing back to full staff at some point. That's it. Thank you.
All right. Any questions for Dr. Briggs on curriculum or student services? At this time, Beth, do we have any community input? All right, just a reminder on community input. You will be allowed 3 minutes. Dr. Balmer, can you be our official timer, please? Yes, sir. And Ms. Schwartz.
Good evening. My name is Erica Schwartz. I am the president of the Silver Creek Teachers Association, and I'm here to share with you SCTA's position regarding the school start time. While the SCTA acknowledges that our current schedule is not best practice for our student population, The final two options that were presented to the SCTA, options, which were the result of a conversation between SCTA reps from the elementary and the primary, and a representation from the Corporation Transportation Department, do more harm than good, specifically to our youngest learners at the primary and elementary. Feedback from Silver Creek Teachers Association colleagues at these buildings include the following. These students at these primary and elementary will continue to be on their parents' schedules. For those who need to drop their students off at 7 a.m. or earlier, shifting a start time back 30 minutes will not change this. The students will still not get extra sleep with a later wake-up time. The shift will only cause primary and elementary students to have a longer day, which contributes to an increase in poor behavior and has a direct negative impact on student learning. Indiana law requires 5 hours of instruction time for elementary students for a reason. It's due to stamina. Our teachers understand the daily struggles of a long day. The Silver Creek Teachers Association could find no research or data supporting a later start time for K through 5. Best practices and research does, however, support an 8:30 start time as the earliest acceptable start time for middle school and high school. Feedback from admin acknowledged our corporation's inability to accommodate, quote, flipping the schedule, which does follow research and data that supports earlier start times for the elementary and primary and later start times for the middle and high school. We know transportation is a beast, and let's extend this discussion to try to get creative and possibly change the way we do things to find other potential solutions. We need more time to collectively come up with creative solutions that benefit all students, not just the middle and high school. There's no need to make changes that ultimately cannot be supported by research and data or by the very best experts we could have, our Silver Creek teachers, who deal with the K through 5 population daily and can attest to the undeniable negative impact a later start and end time will have on our youngest learners. If you want Silver Creek Corporation to be the best, this isn't it. We have more work to do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? You still have a chance if you want to sign up. All right. Dr. Briggs, consent agenda?
Okay, for consent agenda, under letter A, finances, we have numbers 1 through 5. Under letter B, donations, numbers 1 through 5. Under letter C, personnel, certified, appointments, letter A. Under classified, appointments, letters A and B. Under resignations, letter A. And under letter D, other, numbers 1 through 12. And that is it for the consent agenda.
All right. Do we have a motion to bring the consent agenda to the floor?
I so moved.
Ms. Franklin makes the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Basham seconds. Any discussion needed? Hearing none, all of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Number 10, discussion action items. The first, Joe, you're going to give a legislatively update?
Well, if you've noticed in the papers, there's been several bills that's been put on Senate floor and House floors that's going to affect education. Again, some of them is school choice, which is expanding on scholarships, tuition support for private schools, and this would also fund some money toward homeschooling that will take additional dollars from public education. As far as the bill, the way it's wrote right now, the ISBA is going to oppose this bill. Another one on the floor that we're keeping an eye on is there's 3 different bills that's been on the floor for political party for our school board members. Again, it was defeated last year, but it's come back again this year. And the argument with the ISBA against this bill is the school boards needs to stay independent of any political party. You don't want your local county political group influencing different school districts, because if they're not agreeing with the party affiliated with the member on the board. Another bill that we're closely watching, they actually had hearings on it today that different members were asked to attend a hearing on it, is residential tax increment financing. It's TIF. What this bill would do as it's written, it would hurt schools' ability to levy additional dollars for operation fund. Right now, we got some play, but with the new, that would take another section of AV out of your abilities. And it's one that town managers and mayors are really pushing forward where they can create these TIFs for housing projects. There's several more on the floors, but they're still in their early stages. We'll keep an eye on these. It seems like every week there's additional bills being introduced. So that's where we're at for now. And on February the 21st, Chris and I will be in Indianapolis on that morning for State House Day to meet with our representatives at a luncheon in Indianapolis.
Joe, what is the reason that legislature is pushing for partisan elections for school board? What's the, I can think of a million reasons why it's bad, but I can't think of one reason why it's good.
I don't want to step on anybody's toes of what party they might belong to, but if you pay attention to the national scene, there's a hard right side that is wanting to control education. They want to introduce what you can teach and what you can't teach. And so, like I say, the ISBA is really against this. And I'll try to keep as informed as others come on. I think as of right now, there's been 112 bills that could affect education, and they're not done yet. How many will come out of committees? You don't know until the last couple of weeks. That's it, Chris.
Any other questions for Joe? Thanks. Dr. Briggs, we have a second reading of policy 7230, gifts, grants, and you want to go through that just as our final reading before vote?
Yes, no changes from the first reading from the last board meeting. The change that I propose here is currently the board has to approve every donation regardless of amount. My recommendation is to change that where the board will approve any donation above $1,000, and any donation of $1,000 or less can be approved by me or one of my administrators at the building level.
Any questions on the policy? All right, do we have a motion to approve? Mr. Groen makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Basham seconds. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Next up, under 10B, item 2, Ashley Compton to be approved as the Silver Creek School Corporation Director of Special Education, which is position control number 60,000, effective January 30th of 2023. Do we have a motion to bring that to the floor? Mr. Basham, I heard you first. Mr. Groen, would you like second? All right, Mr. Groen seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all of those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. We do have Ms. Compton in attendance tonight. We want to welcome her and her family. We would like to invite you to take a moment.
Hello, I'm Ashley Compton. I have seen some familiar faces from our West Clark days. I've been a special educator for about 10 years now, a graduate of the University of Kentucky, and recently got my administration degree from Indiana University. My most recent position was as a behavior intervention specialist. I'm excited to be here and to finish the year out strong with you guys as part of Silver Creek. Nice to meet you.
Great.
Thank you and welcome aboard.
Congratulations, Ashley.
Next up, under 10, discussion action items. Number 3 is to consider the approval of the revised starts and end times for the school corporation. Do we have a motion to bring that to the floor?
I so moved.
Ms. Franklin makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Basham seconds. Any discussion?
I'll just say that we've received a lot of emails from some people, not some people, from a lot of teachers in the district just with concerns. Tried to respond to some of those, but I do think that think the one thing we can all agree upon for me is just that I feel like there's been a communication breakdown. We have spent several hours in several meetings over the last 6 months discussing this topic. I know for us, just in general, we've had probably 3 to 4 meetings, 3 to 4 public work sessions that, we've brought Carrie in, we've had some people attend the meetings. I know, Erica, you've been at every single meeting, and providing, input. And so from my perspective, I can't speak for the other board members. I feel like there was a lot of due diligence put into the research, all the factors that go into doing that, what kind of resources it takes to doing that. But at this point, I feel like that due to the concerns that have been brought up, whether we agree or not with where the communication breakdown was, I think we still need to communicate. I think that there needs to be an opportunity for more dialogue, because I do value the opinions of the teachers. And so at this point, I would make a motion that we move this to tonight's work session to discuss it further, or we move it to a different meeting to allow further communication. I don't think that right now there's any harm in giving it a little bit more time, given the amount of time that we've put into it. And our original goal was to kind of possibly have this approved and out to parents and out to the community by January. But I think there was some, miscommunication. From my perspective, the board never wanted to table this. I don't know where that breakdown was. And then, I don't feel like we've heard a lot from high school teachers. I feel like the concern is at the primary and elementary level. So obviously there's some responsibility in all of it. Maybe as a board, we didn't communicate very well with regards to what our intentions were and the kind of timeline. So at this point, that would be my reasoning why we would at least, at minimum, look at it further tonight. We'll be here till 10 probably, discussing a lot of things. Maybe we could add it then, or maybe we look at a different date. But at this point, I just think that there needs to be a clearer communication on this situation.
I listen to what Christy said. We have been discussing this for several months, and we've got a joint board meeting next month that I've actually asked Becky Gardner to put this on the agenda. And the reason why I wanted it on the agenda when we have that is one of the issues has been Prosser, and where we've got all the school corporations together at that meeting from a 5-county area. I've asked to discuss Prosser start times where we can see what is the arrival times of different school corporations. So with that being said, I would second what Christy has proposed, to table this for now.
I'm in agreement with that. I guess I was a little blindsided this week by the amount of information that was not known by all stakeholders in our corporation. As Christy mentioned, we've met for hours on this topic, and it was the first time that elementary delayed start time that question had ever been raised. I think the one thing that's important for everybody to know is that when this topic was first brought up, the original intent was to try to flip the start times for middle and high school starting later, with elementary and primary keeping their same start time. That was shot down very quickly because of Prosser and because of the transportation logistics behind it. The schedule that was brought forth to the board for consideration tonight was the best schedule that the corporation came up with based on meeting with administrators, our Dr. Briggs's conversation with the administrators on the best way to run their buildings as far as the start times. So, but with that being said, there is a rumor that potentially New Albany Floyd is considering a different start time. And as Joe mentioned, him and I and Dr. Briggs attend a meeting every couple of months between all the school corporations in the 5-county area. And adding this to that as a topic of discussion, I think is very important because in some ways we are tied a little bit to New Albany Floyd. And getting a little bit more feedback, I think a little bit more discussion now that has come up with the primary and the elementary school. I do see a lot of validity, especially in the primary school, not necessarily as much in the elementary school with a little bit later of a start time. I can only imagine that how a 5-year-old kindergartner who, maybe a couple of months prior to starting school was used to taking a couple of naps a day. That actually, at that point was brought up to me. And I remember that as a parent of a kindergartner when she came home. So I agree. I think it needs to be tabled. Christy, I don't necessarily think that we can put it in work session tonight, just surely for the amount of time. We're kind of under a deadline with on the construction stuff with the Shireman advisors. So I personally would like to see it tabled maybe until a February work session.
I'll throw my sense in here real quick. I think with lack of communication, to find that primary, elementary have not heard about this, or the teachers have not heard about it, it's pretty alarming.
Yeah.
The meetings we've had, the hours we spent, the days we spend, not just here, but on ourselves reviewing this, we had this together saying, hey, this is what was brought forth, this is what our transportation liked, the SCTA liked, but I don't know if all the voices were heard. So I don't know if that means we got to have how is the information we're sharing to our stakeholders gets to everyone. I can't say you've got everybody when the concerns I've had for the last 4 days, 5 days, it's pretty apparent. Like, why didn't they hear it? Why is the littlest student being involved when there was, oh, hey, let's do this for the high school and for the middle schools, but the littlest ones didn't get their voices heard? Something's not right, and we've got to fix it. I don't know if
I'll
it's
just add-
here or somewhere else. We got it.
Yeah, and I think that's on our shoulders too. That's not putting that on anybody else. I think sometimes, we're in a meeting for 4 hours and sometimes we don't necessarily have a resolve at the end of that meeting. And then when it carries outside of the meeting the next day, we all get involved in the schedule of our normal lives. And then it's like we have to jump back to that. So, I think there's accountability on everybody's end. But when you're in a situation like this, the best thing you can do is just pause. I will mention, I just want to say this because I've said this, privately in conversations to people. And, I've heard this theme a lot constantly since, becoming a board member. That people are afraid to say anything or speak out. And, I got some emails who were like, please don't take this email as any sign of disrespect. And, if you're watching at home and you're a teacher or you're an administrator or you're in the audience tonight, I know everyone up here is committed to a collaborative working process. And those work sessions that we have are public and they are open for anybody to come and provide input and, kind of hear the conversation and provide information. And if you have information or you have research or something that you think that might work or, an idea, feel free to come and participate and share it then. I know sometimes it comes through on email and it says, we're going to have this agenda and here's what the work session's about. And it's kind of a vague maybe line and you don't know really what the topic is that's going to be discussed. But, perhaps that's where we need to improve on what that exactly means. But that is where we work together to try to plan and implement change or anything like that. I will specifically say save for what you know, we have talked about in those meetings for our next work session, but, you know, just alone, that process, part of it really drives the conversation. You talk about a select small group of students, but that affects our district financially. It affects those students, you know, the time that they have to be transported there. So finances, Prosser, traffic patterns, elementary schedule in itself, you think about, we have 900 kids in one building. You know, we talk about 5 hours of instruction needed, but our day runs way longer than that. Why is that? It's because we have to facilitate all the breaks and the contracts for the teachers, which are, you know, their planning periods and their lunch breaks and things like that. So your day runs way longer than 5 hours. So that affects the start times. So we looked at all of that. We also looked at traffic or transportation. You can't buy a whole new fleet of buses because it's not, you know, financially able to be done so to facilitate starting one school at this and another school at that. So there are so many factors that go into that decision, and that has all been part of the discussion. But with that being said, we had talked about a February 4th meeting to cover some stuff. So possibly, or February 7th. So possibly that would be a date that we could also kind of get back to the drawing board on this as well.
I think my challenge to us as a board and to our administration is whether a decision is made. There were a lot of other ramifications that went into this. You know, traffic being a major concern, and that's actually what started the discussion of changing of start times, and what caused us to look at potentially flipping that schedule if we could try to alleviate some of the traffic out of the front of the building, especially, you know, later this year when it gets worse because starting of the construction outside of Shirelli's in the front of the elementary school. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets a lot better. I challenge us to get a decision made in the month of February. That way we have, if we do make a change, we have adequate amount of time to get that communication out to our parents. In addition, I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea to engage some feedback from some parents, whether that be, you know, some kind of a survey monkey type, you know, interaction or what, but it is going to affect even more than our students and our staff. Traffic, you know, we could be talking about affecting the livelihood of people.
I think too, those surveys work good for our staff. I mean, a lot of times we get, to me, when you put it out, you usually get you never make everybody happy, right? You're going to usually get a real close split, 54 to, you know, whatever. And then it's really close in the split. But what you get in the feedback of that is the conversational piece where people are inputting comments and they're providing feedback, and you get to see what their concerns are. And so as much as that can be cumbersome to send out to the community, I think we should also send it out to the entire staff, those represented by SCTA and those not represented by SCTA, so that everyone has the full opportunity to provide some feedback in a method that is anonymous, and a comfortability factor is provided.
And that goes across for, I think, all schools too. And just, you know, have it categorized almost to a point of like what is going to be best. Because at the end of the day, I agree, we're not going to be able to please everyone. But if we know the other districts are changing and looking at things, we too have got to look at that too. Right. And I know Carrie's done a good job. We've had communications with the town, just trying to get approvals for certain streets, like New Albany Street, where you can't take that size of a bus down there. We've got approvals. I mean, all these things are going in conjunction over the next few years too. So.
And I'll just say, we started up here with all this and we funneled it down. And I think originally we had 4 different options and 4 different schedules, and we funneled it down, and we just kept scrutinizing and analyzing and really breaking it down, and to get to the end of the funnel. And at the last meeting, I truly felt like we had a resolution. I felt like everybody in that meeting was on a board for what we were trying to do. And then, you know, so it was shocking. It was a little blindsiding just to hear back that, you know, no, this, you know, there's kind of some difference of opinion. But again, even if there's that disagreement or that finality is not there, I mean, I think your answer is to not push forth. It is to just further communicate at this time. So.
All right, I think that I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to table this, to remove the first and the second on the approval tonight, and to table. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second.
Mr. Groen seconds. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries 4-0, Beth. All right, this time we have number 10, discussion action items number 4, which is to consider the approval of addendum 1 for GMP 1 and the change order. Dr. Ballmer, do you just want to give a highlight of the change order decrease?
Sure. So for phase one of our projects, or GMP one, that encompassed our athletic fields. In phase two being the high school. So GMP one, due to steel and roofing especially being such a long lead time, we built that into our GMP one pricing, which is again, we want this here on time when we do start the high school. But since the board had made the decision that we were not moving forward with Skillman for phase two, that GMP needed to be adjusted. And so the steel and the roofing has been pulled away, along with some adjustments to staffing, which is ended up being over a $4 million reduction in GMP1. Keep in mind, some of that is simply moving the steel and the cost of the roofing over to SCSC as a contract, but there is a cost saving in the staffing, a significant cost saving, around $700,000 in the staffing, since we will not be leveraging Skillman for that. So that's basically, that is to settle GMP1 for all the changes as we move forward with a different CM for phase two.
But the total reduction in the GMP was a little over $3 million, correct?
I believe it was, I can review that, but I believe the
3.5.
total reduction would be, with everything coming out, was over $4 million.
Over $4 million, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, perfect. We have a motion to bring that to the floor.
So moved.
Mr. Grome makes a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Mr. Basham seconds. Any discussion needed before we vote?
Sounds like it's good to see.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Under Section 5, we had to consider the approval of the structural steel assignment agreement. I think, Dr. Ballmer, you kind of went over that just a little bit, and the roofing. So do we have a motion to bring that?
So moved.
Mr. Basham makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Under number 6, consider approval of the roofing assignment agreement. We have a motion to bring that to the floor.
I'll move. Also move.
Mr. Grome makes a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Franklin seconds. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. This time, we have Ms. Campbell. All right, primary school report.
All right, good evening. I'm Abby Campbell. I'm the principal of Silver Creek Primary School. Alex, am I good? Okay. All right, we want to start off tonight celebrating some of our awesome friends at Silver Creek Primary who have won or been recognized for the letter I award for initiative. So we'll start off with our kindergarten friends. We have Ava Hedinger, Margot Chandler, Olivia Tong, Olivia Campbell, Lincoln Roberson, Alexis Roman, Nash Lawrence, Allison Estes, Levi Sykes Morales, Zoe Cook, and Charlotte Bond. In first grade, we want to celebrate Kinsley Hirschauer, Bree Bolduck, Harper Beebe, Caroline Brown, Hunter Campbell, Elise Heiler, Isla Guthrie, Anna Huerta, Presley Duke, and Boston Koshavar. So congratulations to those friends for earning I for initiative. That's a tough thing to do as a primary student, so good for them. Beyond that, we just want to highlight our PTO. We have our upcoming Valentine's Day parties. They facilitate those. They prepare our treats, snacks, games. They come in, so it's actually a party for our teachers too, because they don't have to plan those. So we are very thankful for that. It's a big endeavor, and we're grateful for their support. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Any questions for Ms. Campbell? Mr. Cyphers, are
Thank
you
you.
representing the elementary today?
Yes.
All right.
Good evening, everyone. Silver Creek Elementary would like to recognize an individual student that has made a donation to the Silver Creek Food Pantry in the amount of $850. Sabrina Boyven earned money by baking and selling pies around her neighborhood. For a fifth grader to have that amount of money and want to donate it is certainly admirable. We're thankful for her generosity, and I've heard the pies are delicious. I have not tasted one yet, but I look forward to that.
You have to buy one, John.
Yes, I'm happy. I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to do On Friday, January 27th, we'll be recognizing our students that have displayed persistence in January as part of our Dragon Pride program. In semester 1, we recognize students that demonstrated persistence, respectfulness, initiative, dependability, and efficiency. We'll do this again in semester 2. We'd like to recognize and thank all staff and students participating in our Dragon Pals After School program. We're excited to get the second semester underway. We've received positive feedback from families and teachers who have students enrolled in the program. And our teachers and staff are busy analyzing our middle of the year data to prepare for the approaching iLearn and iRead assessments coming up. Our WIDA assessment is underway, and we look forward to giving those results this spring. We'd like to give a shout out to Mrs. Dragu Smith and Mrs. Condra for their hard work in preparing that WIDA assessment for us. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Cyphers?
No, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Nunn, middle school?
Good evening. At the middle school, we too will recognize our top dragons. And again, those are those characteristics of persistence, respect, initiative, dependability, and efficiency. Teachers have nominated students based on these characteristics, and we will recognize them in the morning before we dismiss from school, so they'll be recognized in front of the student body. We also too have completed our second round of NWEA, and the teachers are looking at our school data. They have been using our PLC time to do that. We've been working on it together and then in their teams. We are also in the middle of WIDA testing. Ms. Landers has taken that on at the middle school. She's worked diligently to ensure the testing going on. And I do have to compliment our students. Some students are taking 3 to 4 hours to really practice, work hard so that they can do their best job on there. So I want to say kudos to our students for taking it seriously and doing a great job. Our 6th grade boys won the Mid-Southern Conference over the weekend. Our wrestling team brought home the first ever championship trophy for a wrestling meet or a tournament. So that new program has done well. Our robotics has now been entered in a first competition as well too. So in the next month or so, they will be having our first robotics competition, and they're practicing underway. I would like to thank Mr. Smith and the IT department for installing cameras. We have a new cameras. We have 365 cameras in a few places in the middle school now, and they are incredible at being able to help us out finding all the nooks and crannies of the school. They also cleaned and redirected some of the existing cameras we had and renamed them, so they really helped give us good descriptions of where everything is at. And if anybody is looking for something to do on February 10th from 6:30 to 8, we have a great Valentine's Day dance. You just need a background check, and you can come to middle school dance with us. And that's what's happening at the middle school. Any
Thank you.
Hopefully it doesn't rain this year on the Valentine's dance.
We're hoping.
Thanks,
That was a
Christy.
mess. I know we have some events at the high school, so we don't have any representation. Dr. Briggs, you have update?
I do. Dr. Eckert and his administrative team are at a basketball game here this evening over at the high school. We have Ava Allen, Silver Creek High School freshman, recently competed in the girls wrestling state championship finals, where she finished as the state champion in her weight class. Yeah, it's a big deal. Big deal. Miss Allen, I believe, competed 3 or 4 times that day and resulted in pins every time. So it was a pretty exciting day. I was glad to be there and witness it. As a result of her state championship, she is now eligible to compete in the Girls Folk Style Nationals, March 3rd through the 5th in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Also, congratulations to our theater students who recently competed in the Indiana State Thespian Festival. Congratulations also to Silver Creek High School senior student Skylar McDaniel for finishing with the highest score in the state in the solo vocals competition. And lastly, Silver Creek High School will host the Silver Creek Career Academy Program Showcase tomorrow, January 25th, for our current 8th graders. This is a great opportunity for our 8th grade students to see what programs are available to them as they start to plan for high school. I know there's been a lot of planning by our high school staff getting this going. So thank you to all of them, and looking forward to a great evening tomorrow night.
To make a note on that, I'd heard that the theater program actually were awarded nearly $225,000 worth of scholarships. That is phenomenal, and kudos to those kids. And I like it.
It's awesome.
That's it. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Cahafer, anything? You're welcome. Mr. Smith? Now, come on. There's got to be a cake recipe or something. I got it.
So I want to reiterate what Dr. Ballmer said. We did implement new software that will be, it's already rolled out to everyone, but we've got to do training. We're putting that training together for our surveillance across the district. And it will allow us much more, a better ability to be able to view those cameras. And not only will it allow us internally, it will allow us to see those outside our network, which is a huge thing right now, especially with our police departments wanting that access. We rolled out a new ticketing system, both for facilities and for technology, and it also has an HR module that we're going to be trying to implement in the near future. We're working with Ms. Miller to get that implemented, and we also have a workflow that we're going to try to automate, like vacations and things like that. And I know Dr. Ballmer's chomping at the bit to get that going, so that's one of our hurdles we got to get across, but that's where we're at, trying to keep things running. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek.
I did have one question for Carrie. I didn't know, Carrie, if you wanted to come up and explain the new transportation facilitation of the 2 routes, possibly, another avenue to possibly reach some people in the community that are watching home tonight, parents that might want to sign up for it. This was something that Carrie put a lot of work into, and things that we talked about that I think is going to be really beneficial to a big part of our students. And so I really appreciate Carrie's work on getting this done and what this means for our kids and our families.
No problem. So basically, we've updated our transportation protocol. We were just doing one consistent AM, one consistent PM. We started that with COVID. Hopefully, we're getting past COVID. So at this point, we're implementing on February 10th, where you can have essentially 2 set schedules. Kind of helps families that possibly are in complete split homes, where your student is in mom's house one week or dad's house the following week. So you're allowed to switch schedules. So essentially, you can have Schedule A and Schedule B. Schedule A being mom's address morning and afternoon for 1 week, and then you flip entirely to dad's address Monday through Friday for the entire second week. And then it'll just keep flip-flopping. Basically, when it comes to holidays and such, you would have to allow like the teacher as well as transportation to know, hey, that schedule changes, because as a divorced parent myself, I'm aware that that schedule does flip with holidays. So that's important to know. But it's an opportunity for us to kind of broaden that a little bit without making it complex, because with the complexity comes safety issues. It becomes cumbersome for the drivers, the office, the teachers. It creates a lot of mayhem. So this is our way of kind of a meet in the middle, if you will, which is what I've kind of referred to it as. So we're hoping that it's helpful for those students that we can't help.
Thank you.
And families that we can't help.
That's good. Thank you.
So-
Thank you.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Mr. Poole, facilities?
Good evening. So to expand upon what Mr. Ballmer talked about earlier, with the help of Harshaw Trains team, we've successfully gotten our energy consumption for 3 schools, the primary, the middle, and the high school, within necessary parameters to be considered for an Energy Star rating, which is a pretty big deal. Early analysis of the readings taken during our walkthrough of the schools to determine our scores indicate good levels in the middle school and primary school, with some minimal updates to lighting needed in the high school. We've already started expanding our LED conversion, as talked about earlier as well, to the whole district, which will only aid in our Energy Star efforts. And then lastly, I would just like to thank the school board members for their ongoing support of the facilities department and the changes that we've made. to support our staff and our students of the district. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
No. Thank you. Dr. Balmer?
Yeah, I'll just continue to thank our staff for what they do each and every day. I think we call this time when I was the principal, as a teacher, I think we call this the climb. The spring can be a very, very long road ahead, but the teachers get in and do a phenomenal job with our students and keep them focused, especially with big tests up ahead in the spring. So I continue to be thankful and impressed by what our staff does each and every day. We continue to face challenges and pull through, and just impressive what they do with their students. Want to welcome Ms. Compton. We cannot wait for you to start January 30th. We look forward to working with you, but congratulations. And I definitely want to congratulate Ava Allen on her big win. I do remember her when I was the principal at the middle school, great student, and what an awesome achievement. So that's it.
Dr. Briggs?
Yeah, again, Ms. Compton, congratulations and welcome aboard. Looking forward to you starting. Our staff celebration planning team got together for the first time this week. We do have a date set for the staff celebration in May. I'd love to tell you what that date is exactly, but I don't have it off the top of my head. But save the 11th. Okay, I was thinking the 11th, but
Everybody else knows but you.
everybody else knows but me. But I will be there. So you will have a save the date. This is not your save the date, but if you want to use it, you may. So thanks to everyone involved with that. Last year was a success, and looking for another fun time this year. Thanks to Dr. Balmer for his Board of Finance report. Todd has spent a lot of time on that. This is his second Board of Finance report, and he's doing one heck of a job. So thanks, Todd. Thanks to Becky and everyone else working on the expenditure codes and the appropriations. To say that is a monumental task is a monumental understatement. So thanks to them. Mr. Basham, thank you for your update. As you said, there's well over 100 bills that could impact us, and about time you quit looking, all of a sudden something gets to the floor for a vote. So thank you for monitoring that. That's it. Thanks.
All right. Mr. Basham, anything?
Just say, every time I'm out in public, a lot of people keep asking, when are we going to turn dirt? When are we going to turn dirt on the building project? So I say we're excited to have the Sherman Group on board now. Maybe kick our butts once in a while for the way we went early, but you learn from what you feel like might have been a mistake and go on and move forward. But we're all in the same boat. I can't wait to see front of the high school, some of it knocked down too. So that's it.
Ms. Franklin?
I just want to recognize Sabrina again. I think that she's doing an amazing thing. So she's not here tonight. Maybe we'll have her come bring some pies selfishly next time. But great work to her. That's just really notable tonight amongst all the other stuff we're going through. But
Mr. Graham?
I just want to thank everybody who's emailed me, called me, texted me about tonight. I truly appreciate all the feedback, because without the feedback, we can't do what we do. Construction, just by hearing earlier that, we saved potentially, $3 to $4 million is huge. So knowing that might be hard not to push that dirt back a few months. It's cost savings in the end. So that's awesome. And I will say, Sabrina's awesome, and when she starts cooking, you can smell the neighborhood. And I've bought many from her, and I love that what she does, and I'll keep buying from her.
Awesome. Just to echo, a lot of what everybody said. When you go last, I guess you have to take up the scraps. But thank you. This is actually pretty nice to have a room full of people here tonight. Maybe we should have some more controversial topics on the agenda. No, thanks. Thanks for the staff. Last meeting wasn't videoed, so I didn't get my hoorah speech back from Christmas break. Let's end it well. But, just the staff and kind of on a personal level, I just it's hard to reach out to everybody and say thanks. But just want to say thanks for the well wishes that have come my way. And the one thing that I'll say is that cancer has never met anybody like me. And it's getting ready to get its ass kicked. So, with that being said, our next meeting minutes, there's one that's not on here, and that is tonight. Everybody is welcome. We even have some pizza if you want to stay and join us to talk about our upcoming construction projects. In addition to that, we have the February 7th, 2023 the special board meeting here at the elementary school at 6 o'clock. And then the next regular scheduled board meeting is February 21st of 2023 here at the elementary school at 6:30. With that being said, does anybody make a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Mr. Basham makes a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Franklin seconds. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Meeting adjourned 7:45.